I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mark, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years. We met in college, hit it off pretty quickly, and for a while things seemed perfect. She's always been a bit of a bitch, sharp-tongued, quick to start arguments, and kinda manipulative. But I loved her, or at least I thought I did. We got married 3 years ago, and I honestly thought we were in a good place. We had plans for the future. Buy a house, start a family, the usual dreams. But then slowly, I started noticing little things. She'd be on her phone more than usual, sneaking away to the bathroom or into her office when I'd ask what she was doing. She'd get defensive every time I tried to check her messages or her call history. At first, I thought maybe she was just stressed at work, but the excuses started sounding faker and faker. She'd say I was paranoid, accuse me of snooping, even though I never truly went through her stuff, at least, not until recently. One night I came home early from work because I wasn't feeling well. I caught her in a lie about where she'd been. She said she was at a yoga class, but the car wasn't there, and I saw a receipt for some fancy dinner in the city. Something shifted in me then. I started paying more attention. I noticed her phone pinging at odd hours, late at night, early morning. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the gut feeling was gnawing at me, telling me something wasn't right. Then came the biggest clue. Her behavior changed drastically. She suddenly started going out with friends, but those friends seemed sketchy. I'd ask who they were, and she'd shrug or give some snippy answer, calling me paranoid or insecure. I didn't want to believe she'd cheat, but deep down, I knew something was off. The signs were piling up, and I was starting to feel like I was losing my mind trying to piece it all together. I remember catching her one night, sneaking her phone out of her purse when she thought I wasn't looking. There was a message from some guy, something about waste extraction and marine cleanup, but it didn't make sense. I thought maybe it was some weird job talk, but I felt that chill like a warning. And then I saw the pattern. The messages, the late nights, her defensive attitude whenever I asked her questions. I knew I had to find proof, something concrete. I started searching her phone more carefully, checking emails, social media, anything. That's when I stumbled across the photos, screenshots of her and some guy, looking way too close with a caption about waste extraction tech that was clearly a cover. The guy was someone I'd never heard of before, probably a contractor or a scientist involved in her latest marine cleanup project. But the way they looked in those photos, it was obvious. It wasn't just work stuff. I saw her lying, saying she'd been out with her sister when she'd actually been with him. My stomach sank. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the way she lied so effortlessly, like I was stupid for believing her. I kept staring at those photos, trying to process what I was seeing. How could she do this? After everything we'd been through, after all the promises. I didn't sleep that night, just lying there, heart pounding, trying to figure out what I should do. I was furious, hurt, and honestly, I felt so stupid for trusting her at all. But I knew one thing: this wasn't going to be brushed under the rug. I had to confront her, see what she'd say, and decide what my next move was. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and that sick feeling in my stomach that just wouldn't go away. I knew I couldn't ignore what I'd found, no matter how much I wanted to pretend it wasn't real. I had to talk to her, face her, get some kind of explanation, even if I already knew what it would be. I got up early, made myself a coffee, and sat on the couch pretending to be calm, but inside I was anything but. My thoughts kept circling around those photos, her lies, and the gut-wrenching feeling that I'd been played. When Lisa finally came out of the bedroom, she looked annoyed, like I'd disrupted her morning routine. She was dressed in her usual bitchy manner, arms crossed, rolled eyes, and she shot me a quick glare as she sat down on the couch. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "You've been lying to me," I said flatly. "I found those pictures, Lisa, the ones with that guy." She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Oh, please, you're overreacting. That's just some work thing. You're making a bigger deal out of it than you should." I shook my head. "No, Lisa, I know what I saw. You're cheating on me with that guy, and I want to hear the truth." Her face twisted into a sneer. "You're crazy, Mark. You always jump to conclusions." "Maybe I was just talking to him about the project. You don't know what you're talking about." I felt the rage bubbling up. Stop lying. I saw the messages, the photos. You can't deny it anymore. You've been screwing around behind my back. She leaned in, her tone sharp. Oh, so now I'm a cheater. That's rich coming from you. You think I don't see how you've been acting lately? Like a damn paranoid lunatic. I'm tired of your accusations, Mark. Maybe I deserve someone who trusts me. It was like a slap to my face. I'd always thought she was manipulative, but hearing her call me paranoid and accuse me of not trusting her, it was like she was trying to turn everything around on me. I was trembling from the mix of anger and heartbreak, but I kept going. I saw the messages, Lisa. You told me you were working late or out with your friends, but the truth is you've been meeting him. During our marine cleanup project, I know you've been sneaking around with this guy, pretending to do waste extraction. It's just a cover story, isn't it? You're screwing him, and I've had enough of your lies. She looked furious now, slamming her hand on the table. You don't know what you're talking about. You've got no proof. You're just jealous because I don't want to be married to some obsessive psycho. Her words cut deep, but I was past the point of backing down. I told her she could lie all she wanted, but I'd already seen enough. I told her I was done with this, that I'd be leaving that day. And that's when she threw a new punch. She accused me of being insecure, jealous, and said I was ruining her life. That moment, I realized how much her lies had twisted her. She'd become someone I didn't recognize, bitchy, manipulative, and clearly willing to cheat because she thought she could get away with it. That day, I decided I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. I told her I wanted a divorce, packed my things, and left that house with a broken heart. After I was gone, I couldn't stop replaying everything. The betrayal, her lies, the fact that she'd been so good at hiding it. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut repeatedly. I was angry at her, but more than that, I was hurt. I never thought I'd be the guy to get cheated on, especially not by someone I trusted so much. The emotional blow was so intense I almost didn't recognize myself anymore. That was just the beginning of a dark road I wasn't sure I was ready for, but I knew I had to do something. I couldn't stay with her, not after finding out she'd been lying, cheating, and using her job as a cover for some secret affair. The days after I left her house were a blur. I didn't sleep much, couldn't focus on work, and kept replaying everything I'd learned. The betrayal hit me harder than I expected. I'd never been the jealous type, but seeing her with that guy, knowing she'd lied about everything, made me feel like I'd been punched in the chest repeatedly. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, how I missed the signs, why I trusted her for so long when she was just playing me. The worst part was feeling so stupid for not seeing it coming. I started digging into her phone more, trying to piece together what had really been going on. That's when I uncovered some shocking details. She'd been meeting this guy, Mark, who was apparently working on some marine research project, something about waste extraction and deep ocean plastics. At first, I thought it could be just a cover story, some professional excuse. But then I looked closer. The photos I'd seen, the messages, the late-night calls, none of it was about work. She was clearly having sex with him, just like I'd feared. The messages got more explicit, talking about their encounters and how they'd hide it from everyone, especially me. I couldn't believe how good she was at lying. She'd always been a bitch about everything, arguing, manipulating, twisting facts to her advantage. But now I saw her true face, selfish, manipulative, and willing to betray everything we had just for some secret fling with this guy. I felt so angry, so humiliated. How could I have been so blind? I thought I knew her, but she'd kept this huge secret from me all along. One night, I decided I couldn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself. I needed to confront her, get some answers face to face. I called her, told her I wanted to talk. She was defensive from the start, said I was crazy, that I was snooping, that I was just jealous and insecure. I told her I knew everything, the affair, the lies, the cover story about the research. Her tone became bitchy, dismissive, like she didn't care if I knew the truth or not. She accused me of being paranoid, and I could hear that sneer in her voice. When I told her I was coming over, she finally lost her temper. She yelled at me, called me all sorts of names, paranoid, clingy, insecure. She even said I was the one cheating, that I wasn't enough for her anymore. That hurt worse than anything else. I had to hold back from yelling right back. I told her if she was done with the marriage, just say it. If she wanted to keep playing her games, I was done being her fool. I drove over to her place that night, heart pounding, fists clenched. When I got there, she was sitting on the couch, her face cold and bitchy, eyes narrowing as she saw me. I knew then I had to hear her outright. I demanded she tell me the truth, no more lies, no more excuses, and that's when she finally broke. She admitted she'd been screwing Mark for months, that their waste extraction was just a cover story for their sex meetings. She said she hated the marriage, that she'd felt trapped, and that Mark made her feel alive again. I felt my stomach turn, anger, sadness, betrayal all at once. It was like the world was crashing down around me. I wanted to scream, wanted to hit something, wanted to do anything but stand there listening to her coldly admit she'd been cheating for real. I had trusted her, loved her, and she'd just thrown it all away for some guy she met during her marine project. The woman I thought I knew was just a manipulative bitch who used her job as a cover for her lies, and I realized then that I never really knew her at all. After she finally admitted everything, I just sat there, stunned. My mind was racing 100 miles an hour. I felt like I was in some terrible nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The betrayal was so raw, so deep, I didn't even know what to feel anymore. Anger, heartbreak, disgust, all mixed together. My hands were trembling as I looked at her, trying to process the woman I thought I knew had become someone I barely recognized. She sat there, bitchy and dismissive, acting like her cheating was no big deal, like I should be the one feeling guilty. I couldn't stay silent. I told her how much she had hurt me, how betrayed I felt. I said I never thought she'd do this, especially not to me, someone who'd always believed in honesty and commitment. I told her I felt like I'd been played for a fool, that I'd given her everything and she'd just thrown it all away for some guy during our marine cleanup project. I asked her why she did it, how she could lie to my face and cheat behind my back. Her response was cold. She shrugged and said she was bored, that I was a terrible husband, that she needed someone who could satisfy her, sexually, emotionally, whatever. She called me insecure, clingy, and said I was stupid for trusting her so much. Honestly, hearing her call me insecure made me even more furious, because it was her way of deflecting, of avoiding responsibility. She wanted to make me the bad guy so she could feel justified in her actions. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just sit there and pretend it was okay. But part of me also knew that this was the end of the road. I told her I was done, that I wanted a divorce, that I didn't want to see her again. She rolled her eyes, giving me that bitchy smirk she always used when she was trying to manipulate someone. She said I was overreacting, that I was making a scene for nothing, that she'd move on just fine without me. That night, I left her place feeling hollow. I drove home in silence, tears threatening to fall, but I refused to let them. I knew I'd been through a lot, but this was different. This was betrayal at its worst. I kept thinking about the lies she told me, how she'd been screwing around with Mark, something about waste extraction tech during our marine cleanup initiatives. But it was all just a cover. She was lying and cheating with that guy, using her job as a shield for her infidelity. The worst part was feeling like I'd lost my sense of trust in everything. I'd always believed marriage was sacred, that honesty mattered. Now I saw how easily people can lie, cheat, and manipulate. My wife, the woman I trusted, had been pretending to be someone else the entire time. I didn't know how I was supposed to move on from this. How do you rebuild trust after something like that? How do you look at her or anyone the same way again? That night, lying in my bed alone, I realized something had broken inside me. I'd have to figure out how to pick up the pieces of my life and somehow, maybe someday, learn to trust again, or never trust anyone at all. The days that followed were some of the darkest of my life. I threw myself into work trying to drown out the constant replay of her lies and betrayal. But no matter how busy I kept myself, the pain lingered. Every time I thought I was starting to get over it, something would remind me of her, an old song, a place we used to go, even just a random smell. It was like the betrayal was etched into every corner of my mind. I kept asking myself how I didn't see it coming, how I could have been so blind. Eventually, I decided I had to confront the situation head-on. I hired a private investigator, not because I wanted revenge, well, maybe a little, but because I needed proof, evidence I could hold on to. I wanted to see just how deep her lies went. She told me she was done with Mark, that she'd ended everything, but I didn't believe her. I needed to know for sure. The investigator uncovered some stuff I didn't expect. Secret meetings, late-night calls, even her sneaking out during our supposed business trips. I found out she'd been lying about her whereabouts during the worst times I'd been calling her, worried sick. The final blow was discovering that she'd bought some new lingerie, met up with Mark in a hotel, and had sex with him multiple times. I saw the photos from the hotel security cameras, her in a hotel room with him. It was raw, real proof of everything I'd feared. That moment hit me like a freight train. All the heartbreak, all the anger, all the humiliation flooded back in full force. I felt like my chest was being squeezed tight, like the air had been knocked out of me. I realized that I had two options. I could keep pretending everything was okay, or I could finally accept that this was the end of our marriage. I chose the latter. I sat her down, told her I knew everything, the affair, the lies, the secret meetings, and that I was done. I told her I never wanted to see her again, that I was filing for divorce. Her reaction was classic Lisa, bitchy, dismissive, and full of that same sneer she always wore. She accused me of being overly dramatic, said I was jealous, and told me I was just insecure. But I wasn't listening anymore. I'd heard enough. The divorce process was messy, drawn out, and emotionally draining. But I was determined to get out of there. I wanted to put this behind me, start fresh, even if it hurt like hell. I realized I'd been a fool for trusting her so blindly, but I also learned a hard lesson. People can hide who they really are, even the ones you think you know. I've since come to understand that betrayal cuts deep and healing takes time. Now I'm trying to rebuild my life. I've started therapy, focusing on myself. I don't know if I'll ever fully get over what happened, but I know I won't let her or anyone else do this to me again. The whole experience made me realize how fragile trust is and how important it is to be careful who you let into your life. I don't regret loving her. I just wish I'd seen the signs before it got so bad. If I could give anyone advice, it's this: don't ignore the red flags. Pay attention to the small things, because they usually mean everything. And never, ever let yourself be so blind that someone can cheat on you and lie to your face without you noticing until it's too late. Looking back now, I realize I've learned a lot from this whole mess, more than I ever thought I would. Betrayal, especially on this level, changes you. It makes you question everything about trust, about love, about the people you think you know. I used to believe that marriage was about honesty, about loyalty. Now I see it's also about being cautious, about reading the signs before they become cracks in the foundation. I won't lie, there are days I feel angry, days I feel hurt, and days I wonder if I'll ever fully heal. But I also know I'm stronger than I was before. I've started to rebuild my confidence, to remind myself that I'm worth more than someone who can lie and cheat without remorse. That's the brutal truth I had to face. I deserved better. We all do. No one should accept being lied to and betrayed, no matter how much they love someone. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this: trust is a fragile thing. Be careful who you trust, and don't ignore the small signs of trouble, because for me, the small signs turned into a tidal wave of betrayal I never saw coming. Be honest with yourself about your feelings, and don't be afraid to stand up for what you deserve. Love is beautiful, but it's also a risk. Protect yourself, and know that sometimes walking away is the only way to heal. I don't regret loving Lisa, even if she turned out to be someone I didn't really know. I loved her, and that's okay. But I also learned that loving someone doesn't mean you have to be blind. You can love with your eyes open, and if someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Because the truth will set you free, even if it hurts like hell in the process. Now I'm focusing on myself. I'm working on forgiving her, not for her sake, but for mine. I want to move forward to find happiness again, alone or with someone who truly values loyalty and honesty. I hope with time, the pain will fade and the scars will remind me of what I've survived. Because if I've learned anything, it's that we're all stronger than the betrayals we face. And someday, I'll look back at this and realize I came out the other side, battered but unbroken.